Hey, my name's Izzy, this is Rolling Virtual Cards, coming live with another Commander deck profile. This is Henry Wu, InGen Genealogist, or InGen Genealogist. He's a black, a green, and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature human scientist. Henry Wu, InGen Genealogist, or InGen Geneticist. Sorry guys. Geneticist and other human creatures you control have exploit, which means when they enter the battlefield you can sacrifice another creature. When a human creature you control, or when a creature you control exploits a non-human creature, draw a card. If the exploited creature had power 3 or greater, create a treasure token. So the push of this deck is to have creatures with power 3 or greater, and to run humans and non-humans, and the humans exploit the non-humans. It's very flavorful. I quite enjoy it. I think it's very interesting. Once you get the build set, it really works. I tried building it with the hippo. I forget the hippo companion's name, but that guy in an attempt to I at least have some type of companion. I kind of enjoy it. It was a hippo dinosaur. Kind of had that feeling. But it's for that one, it's mana 3 or greater, not power 3 or greater, so it didn't really match perfectly. But let's get to the deck here. So Birds of Paradise, it's here for mana. You can also exploit it with a human to at least draw a card. So whatever you exploit will be getting you at least a draw one card. Power 3 or greater will give you the treasure. Tribe Elder's here for ramp. You're not going to exploit it because it'll be dead. Cutthroat is here. It's very useful to have him because he is going to be making your opponents lose lives as you exploit them. Now, one of these guys is not enough, but you'll see later on why we're running them. Because one Zulaport Cutthroat just isn't enough. But it does exploit something at least. Azusa Lost with Seeking is a human that ramps you and draws you cards, and since you're drawing a lot of cards in this deck, it's great in that regard. Compy Swarm is a newer card, and it works so well in this deck, because at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, which they will because you're exploiting them, create a token that's a copy of Compy Swarm. So the first turn you'll have 2, you'll make 1 copy, so that's 2. The next turn you'll make 4. You'll have 4. You'll be making 2 for 4. The next turn you'll have 8. So it gets really, it gets out of control if people don't take care of it quickly. Dryad of the Illusionist Grove is more ramp and can just be sacked off whenever you want it to be. To draw a card. Pawn of Ulamog is great because if you're sacking off non-tokens, all these non-token creatures, you're going to get tokens that can then be sacked off to draw cards. Or sacked off for ramp. Tireless Provisioner is great because it gets you a lot of food, because it gives you the food when lands into the battlefield, and you can sack it whenever you want, and it's power 3 or greater. Topiary Stomper is great because it has that great ETB to go grab a land. And then you can also sack it off to draw a card and get a treasure. Wayward Swordtooth is the same thing as Topiary. You're going to be able to get an extra land drop there. Adrax, Never Twincast, or Nev Twin. Adrax and Nev Twincaster is great because if you would make a token, if a token would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. Which is good for the token creators from the sack off stuff, but there's more to that, and you'll see that in a little bit. Erasta of the Endless Web is here because this is going to make you tokens. This is going to make you a lot of tokens based off your opponent's casting spells, instants and sorcerers. Whenever they do, you're going to make a 1/2. Those 1/2s are only going to draw you cards, but there's something to sack off, which is really good. Bramble Sovereign is the first key in this concept here, in this deck. It makes token creature tokens off of the creatures that come in. So something like Wayward Swordtooth, you're going to get 2 of them. You have to pay 2 more mana, but that means one of them can be sacked. So Topiary Stomper can be tapped. But the best thing is Henry Wu, even if the creature dies, if you cast Henry Wu for 2 extra mana with it on the field, you get the second Henry Wu. They both get exploit triggers before they have to be sacked, and you get double triggers off of his effect. So you'll be, if you sack a creature with, you'll no matter what, be getting 2 cards, possibly 2 cards, 2 treasures, which is really good. Which is why this is in here. This is going to allow you to just double up the creatures to sit there sacking off, and double up the triggers off Henry Wu. Falconwrath Noble is just more when another creature dies. Target player loses life, you gain a life. Markwood Badge is if a creature, or if you sacrifice it, or whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses life, which is again great because you're making a lot of tokens and you're sacking a lot of tokens. Mirror Hall Mimic is in here because of the flip side. This side's okay, it enters the battlefield as a copy of a creature, except it's spared in addition to the types. So you can have this come in as a copy of Henry Wu and double up the trigger, but its other side is at the beginning of your create a token that's a copy of an enchanted creature, except it's spared in addition to the type. This is great because you can make copies of whatever you want, which is really strong, or copies of Henry Wu, getting those human triggers constantly. Each turn, double trigger. Oracle of Moldiah is an elf shaman that can be sacked off, but is also ramp in the form of card draw. And doubling up these land drops are really good. Ovar, the all form, doubles up copy spells. So it doesn't technically do that. So when an instant or sorcery, it is a human, but it's not a non-human, so you don't sack it off there, but it will trigger the human effect because it's changing. But when you cast an instant or sorcery target that targets one of our permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. What this is going to let you do in the long run is when you cast a copy, a lot of these spells we're casting are copy spells. So you're going to copy something like Pitless Plunderer, and then you're going to make a second copy of that Pitless Plunderer because you've targeted it. Giving you 3 Pitless Plunderers, which is insane because you're going to be making 3 treasures off of every creature you sack to your exploits. So this is very strong. Pitless Plunderer is here to get the treasures. Poison Tip Archer is here because when another creature dies, each opponent loses life. Sakashima 1000 Faces gets rid of the legendary rule and comes in as a copy 99% of the time as your commander. Having 2 of your commanders is very strong because again, you get 2 of those triggers. Those 2 triggers are going to allow you to draw 2 and then possibly get 2 manas per creature sacked. Sakashima the Imposter, which is the old Shakashima, does its best attempt of being Shakashima. It really is, because it's just going to come in as a copy as your commander with a different name, but it doesn't have that legendary rule gun, which is just so useful. Solemn Simulacrum is here because it can be sacked off, draw a card, draw 2 cards technically when it dies, since it dies, and it grants you. Spark Double is here because it's non-legendary, it's a copy, so it's going to come in as a non-legendary copy doing Shakashima's impression. It's Jace doing Shakashima's impression, basically, which is great. And, like, making copies of Solemn is even good. Sir Conrad the Grim is great because it's just doing its impression of stuff like Poison Tip Archer. Stuff dies, opponents lose life. Macias the Unhallowed, since you are sacking non-humans, the non-humans are going to come back, and that includes tokens. The tokens come back with 1/1 counters on them, and then they can die again. Lots of chances to just sack stuff and keep going. I'm not running a Macias combo in here. I didn't really care for combos in this deck. I just wanted it to be fun. Progenitor Mimic is going to do a copy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if this creature isn't a token, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So, Progenitor Mimic, you don't want to copy a legendary, but you can copy like Spark Double or Sakashima that are copying Commander. But like choosing Pitless Plunderer to get a Pitless Plunderer each turn, or choosing Poison Tip Archer to get Poison Tip Archer. If you choose a human, you're going to get sacked each turn. If you choose a non-human, you're going to get a way to sack them. Rampaging Baloths is great because the landfall trigger is going to give you beasts that you can sack that allow you to draw and get a treasure each turn. And since you're running multiple landfalls, that works. Avenger Zyndagar is great because it comes in, it can be sacked. Making copies of Avenger Zyndagar is gross. Because when a land is the battlefield and you control, put a 1/1 counter on each plant you control. Which means if you have like 2 or 3 Avengers Zyndagar's, you put 2 or 3 counters on each plant you control. And you're going to get more plants for each copy that hits the field. Very gross. Coma Cosmos Serpent is expensive at 7, but it is going to give you a 3/3 at each upkeep. The 3/3s can be sacked, which is so good. It can't be countered, And you can stack the tokens to tap target permanent and activate abilities can't be activated this turn, or it gains it. So there is stuff that you can do with the serpents otherwise, but most of the time you're exploiting them. And Mirror Battlefield is very close. You're going to make 4 copies, or 4 mirrors, each one that can be sacked. It can be sacked, but making copies of Mirror Battlefield is one of my favorite things to do. Plus, I love the art of Mirror Battlefield. It's just a bunch of mirrors in one. It's so funny. Sorcery-wise, we got a ramp here, more ramp, copy effect, ramp, copy effect. I mean like clone effect, 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 and clone effect. The clone effects are perfect. They do exactly what you're thinking you need them to do. Just make copies of your commander to trigger, like, drawing into one is the equivalent of drawing into a human. That gives you 2 triggers off of your commander. Because you can just go, oh crap, quasi duplicate, only, I only have my commander I can target. And, well, maybe you don't only have your commander you can target, but, like, you definitely have, like, your, what is that? Yeah, you definitely have, like, your commander and a non-human, let's say. Quasi duplicate is a human, in that case. You can just cast it, target your commander, sack the non-human, and then get double triggers off your commander effect. It's useful. But all the clones is the big point here. You got more clones and instances, cloning, Haro is ramp, C double is cloning, and repudiate, replicate is cloning. Technically, you can also counter target activator or trigger ability. Artifacts. Dino DNA is also cloning because you can exile target creature card from your graveyard, activate and associate. But then for 6, you can create a token that's a copy of that creature, except exile of target creature exile with Dino DNA. Except it's a 6/6 green dinosaur creature token with trample. Or sorry, except it's 6/6. Yeah, with trample. Activate and associate. So this is going to allow you to pay 6, which is mana dump, to get the creatures you've been exploiting back, getting their ETBs, and then sacking them off. Ramp, and mana fixing here. Mimic Vat. This is just a way to get something back. Something good dies, you're going to get ETBs off of it, and you're going to be able to just sack it constantly. Esca's Cherry is a cloning. Copy. Good one. Hell and the Host. Cloning. Non-legendary. Put it on your commander. Endless Evil. Cloning. Parallel Lives. Double tokens, which is good because you're making token copy. Clone tokens. Vesuvian Duplicate. Diplomacy, does the same thing as the legendary does, except it makes them non-legendary. So when you cast your clone on your legendary, you make a non-legendary copy of it, then you make a legendary copy of it, you trigger both of them to make sacks off. Well, you trigger the one, getting 2 sacks off, and then the third one hits and you have 3 of them and you sack something, so you're going to draw 3. Possibly make 3 double seasons here to double up, just like Parallel Lives. It's the expensive card. You don't need to run either Parallel Lives or it, but they're very helpful in this deck in the long run. I would proxy them. I always say proxy it if it's over 30. Heck, if it's over 20, proxy. Followed Footsteps is a copy maker, and so is Extravagant Replication. And again, lands are lands. Just toss 33 lands in there. I like 33. I've noticed that if you get better at mulliganing, 33 is usually good. But yeah, that's Henry Wu. Lord of copying crap, guys. Like, that's the entire, human supremacy, yes. But, like, dude, just clone it. Make copies of stuff. Make a bunch of copies of Zulapur Cutthroat. You've got like 5 of them all of a sudden. Now every creature you sack with Henry Wu's effect is going to get you like 5. Every opponent loses 5, you gain 5. Very useful. And I've done stuff like that. This deck is really fun. And the main thing is that the copies can be a human or a non-human, which is the best part, as long as you got one on the field. So, yeah. Pick it up, take a look at the deck, test it out. Love and peace.